In this movie, I want to show a little bit of the philosophy behind ePubCrawler, because it might seem that ePubCrawler is just a simple InDesign to EPUB converter, but actually it is extremely configurable, so it can very easily be tweaked or changed to generate quite different kinds of EPUB. And I don't want to go into too much technical detail in this video. I just want to show you some of the things I can very easily achieve by just making some small changes in the templates that are used to drive ePubCrawler. And by seeing how I do that, you get a better idea of how powerful ePubCrawler is and how flexible it is. So how little is cast into stone. So it's a very flexible and malleable system. So first I'll just show you a little bit about ePubCrawler in general, how it looks at the document. And what I do is I bring up my scripts palette. In InDesign I've installed ePubCrawler in the user folder, and I drill down into ePubCrawler, then into the ePubCrawler template folder. So that folder is actually full of stuff that drives the output of ePubCrawler towards ePub. And the folder we're going to look at in this video is the OEBPS folder, which is kind of the ancestor of the OEBPS folder that you'll find in the EPUB once it's exported. Now, quite a few of the files that you see in this folder will not make it into the folder in the EPUB. They're essentially nothing more than templates that drive the generation of the EPUB. And when ePubCrawler thinks about a document, it is essentially a layered approach. So at first you have the outer shell is the document, and in the document we find one or more pages. Every page in its turn can contain one or more frames. They could either be image frames or text frames. Every one of those text frames, for example, can contain one or more paragraphs. Every one of those paragraphs could contain one or more lines. And then all those lines could contain one or more words. So, and that layering, so document, then pages, then frames, then lines, so the paragraphs, then lines, then words, is represented in ePubCrawler, and we can affect any kind of output on those levels. So, and you see here in those snippet files, you see in the OEBPS folder, we have a whole range of snippet files. All of those files drive a certain level of output. So for example, the word snippet will drive how individual words are treated. The para snippet, here para, drives how individual paragraphs are output. Page, like there's two page snippets, one for CSS, one for XHTML, that will drive how an individual page is output. Now just to show you how that works, we'll first look at the word snippet. So just to reveal in Finder, I've been right-clicking, so I'll right-click or control-click on the word snippet, say reveal in Finder, and then just drag and drop it onto my text editor. Could be any editor. I'm using Sublime Text. You could just as well use BBEdit or Text Wrangler or Notepad or anything else. So the standard word snippet is very simple and boring. All it does is essentially when a word is found in the InDesign file, it will simply output that word to the EPUB. So this is kind of a straight through snippet, which means this $word is a placeholder for each individual word. So this snippet is used over and over and over. Each time a word is encountered, it's used. And the word is just output as it is. And if we just close this off and run ePubCrawler, so I'll first delete any older results of my ePubCrawler, so I just delete. So my document is called test file cs5.indd here on my desktop. There's no EPUB folders right now, and I just double click ePubCrawler.jsx bin on the scripts palette. So ePubCrawler does its thing, and if I now look at my desktop, I do have test file cs5, a folder which is an EPUB folder with some files in there, and we'll just look at p2.xhtml, which is the second page of my silly text document. And it's a very simple output, so essentially some XHTML, which in this case I've set it to generate a background image for the whole page rather than doing the individual images, so that's all configurable. And if we look at the text, that's what you need to look at now, is like you see all the words are just normal words, test space blah. So I've been typing some random text. It's not really even words. So, but very straightforward, very simple. Okay, I'll leave this file open for now because I want to show you the results of the tweaks we're going to make within that word snippet. So I'll just grab that snippet again and open it up in my text editor. So, and what I'll do now is I've prepared this so I don't have to reinvent it, but I'll instead of just the word, I'll output a whole bit of HTML. So the whole bit of HTML that I will be outputting is essentially an A tag with a reference to Google with the word as a search expression, and then the word itself. So the word will be shown, but it will also be a link to a search on Google for the same word. So we're actually using the placeholder twice. The placeholder is once used in the HTTP link, and another time as the output text that needs to be going into the resulting ePub. So we'll close and save that. Save it. And now we'll rerun ePubCrawler. So I'll just double click ePubCrawler JSX bin. That's it. And now I go back to my desktop. Now we see we have two test files, CS5 and CS5_1, two folders. And I'm just going to open the p2.xhtml, which is the new one. And if you see now, like compared to the previous p2.xhtml, so every word now is wrapped in an A tag. See, so and each time the word is there, there's also a link to Google. And if we just open this P2 in Safari or any other browser, just to see how it works, you see that all the words, say like for example the word paragraph, I can now click the word paragraph and it takes me to Google and searches for that word paragraph. So a very small tweak at the level of the word output can generate a whole different kind of ePub or XHTML for that matter. I'll do a slightly different one just to show what can be done, and the sky is the limit really. But say I wanted to output XHTML in such a way that I would know what the length of every paragraph is in the HTML. I would like to have an HTML comment with the length of each paragraph expressed in characters. So that's also very straightforward. Now the problem is I don't have readily available the length of a paragraph. I need to add a new placeholder, so that placeholder doesn't exist yet in ePubCrawler. But because ePubCrawler is so flexible, we can very easily add a new placeholder which would just be the length of the paragraph expressed in characters. So I'll just look here at this file called formulas.jsx. So that's part of the OEBPS folder. It's called formulas, and that's essentially nothing more than a container full of formulas, and we can just add our own formulas. So there's a few formulas that are part of ePubCrawler, but all I'm going to do is add another little formula here, para_len. There it is. So, and this formula essentially tells ePubCrawler that we want to use a placeholder $para_len $, and that placeholder needs to represent the length of the paragraph. So the exact formula is not important, so it's essentially extend script. If you know extend script and you can script InDesign, you can write your own formulas and you can essentially calculate anything and put it into a placeholder. So I put in the formula, that's step one. And the second step is to go into the paragraph snippets and open it in a text editor. There it is. So, and instead of just using the paragraph and outputting the paragraph, I can now just type in a little bit of HTML. So what I'll do is I'll just type a HTML comment. So this is an HTML comment, and say the length of the next paragraph is $para_len. See, so I use this placeholder that I just defined in the formulas, and this placeholder will be replaced by the length of the paragraph because it's calculated for each paragraph. So this little snippet is used every time ePubCrawler encounters a paragraph. It will run it through the snippet, replace the placeholder, so one with the text of the paragraph, HTML expressions, and one with the length. So save this. What I'll do also is I'll bring our word snippet back to its normal, so we don't have to look at a lot of Google stuff. So there's a normal word snippet. So we're only going to do work at the paragraph level, and now I can just run ePubCrawler. There we go. Done. And again, so now I have another ePub folder here, and let's look at the same file, but now after it's run through. See, and now I have these comments in my HTML, say like the length of the next paragraph is 5, and essentially that's 5 characters, so that's essentially the test plus a new line. The length of the next paragraph is 44, this is 44 characters, and so on. So these are the lengths as seen by InDesign, not the lengths as seen by HTML. So as you can see, it's very easy to add stuff to the XHTML or CSS, all kinds of things that haven't even been envisioned when I designed ePubCrawler. So it's really made to be extensible. So this should entice you to go and read a bit more about what you can do with those snippets, because essentially the sky is the limit, and just play around and make your own templates, and you can see that ePubCrawler is very, very powerful.